Yeah, at the appropriate time, we'll ask you guys to, you want to go ahead and start? I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay. We'll go ahead and ask you guys to get
Okay.
Good afternoon. We are thrilled to present and talk about Figueroa Tower to you today. We're really glad for the opportunity, so thank you very much. We're pleased to be here. First, before we go into the bulk of our presentation, I want to cover some introductions and then cover a little bit about some of the collateral that we brought with us today. First up, by way of introduction, my name is Dan Arcutt. I'm a Director of Management Services for Southern California. I've been in commercial real estate about 23 years, and my responsibilities include overseeing our portfolio in Southern California, including Orange County and Los Angeles.
And I'm Josh Shoemaker. I'm the Head of Engineering for the Western United States, based in LA right here. My responsibilities include overseeing the engineering maintenance operations, creating PM programs, selling and implementing best practices from around the country right here in LA.
And I'm Kerry Franson. I'm the Associate Director covering the Los Angeles area. I have about 23 years experience, concentration in high-rise, and work quite a bit in the downtown Los Angeles area. And the property managers are reporting directly to me, and I'll be making sure that they adhere to all of your policies and procedures.
And I am Mark Thomas. I'm a CPA. I'm the Regional Controller for the West District, headquartered in Chicago. I have had the pleasure of working with you in the past as we did some work with you, and I certainly look forward to the opportunity of doing it again.
Great, thank you guys. I'll touch on some collateral. We do have a couple books here that are going to leave behind for you. It contains everything that's in this presentation for you today. In addition, there's some supplemental information and detailed information. If we need it as a resource, we can certainly refer to that. In addition, Josh talked about the iPads, and we're going to demonstrate some of the innovative technologies that we have in mind for this asset a little bit later today. Before we get started, however, are there any critical pain points or questions or things that you want to make sure that we cover before we begin? Thank you.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this, I don't know what building.
This is Figueroa Tower.
Oh, pause. So this is a historic building. You guys had experience with historic properties?
We have in several markets in the West. We actually manage a couple of 100-year-old assets up in Sacramento. My esteemed colleague Kim Hood manages the group that's up there, and there's challenges, unique challenges, but we've worked with the local historical society for different renovations and facade features and things like that. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, listen, you're familiar with our firm to some extent, but I wanted to at least touch on a few key points before we roll into our presentation. One is that just a reminder that we're one of the world's leading real estate service firms. I think recently we were ranked number 3 by Real Estate Forum in terms of a brokerage firm. We have national revenues exceeding $810 million. We have 90 offices spread across the United States in all major markets. We're managing over 210 million square feet at this time. And while I know we're presenting about property management today, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about just some of our other integrated service lines that are of value to institutional investors such as yourselves. And that includes landlord agency leasing, investment sales, project management, and all the other services that are shown here. So we'd love a chance to partner with you. If we do succeed in getting this assignment, we'd love to show you some of our other service lines and what value we can bring to the table. And then finally, in terms of our national presence, again, a quick summary of where our offices are located throughout the country, and where our managed assets are located, and not the least of which is Southern California, where we've got over 2 million square feet of managed assignments. So let's roll into kind of the big picture for you. Congratulations on the recent acquisition of Figueroa Tower. There are 3 key objectives that we've identified based on our previous conversations with you in the past, a review of the OM that you shared with us, and our detailed review and analysis of the property itself. One of the first key objectives is to reintroduce this property to the market in order to accelerate leasing and leverage your new ownership. And we do know, in working with you in the past and based on some of your objectives that you've outlined to the public, we know that you're committed to the following. These are kind of your core values, but also some of your strengths as an advisor. Number one, we know that services are a priority. Being proactive and responsive to your tenants is important, and we totally embrace that. Number two, strong institutional ownership. You're one of the top advisors in the country. You're backed by some of the strongest institutional investors in real estate. You have very tremendous access to capital. You have deep pockets. You can get things done and make deals happen. It's very important to the tenants who might be contemplating coming to your building. Immediate response. We understand that time is money, and you get that too. Whether it's beginning of the leasing process, doing a test fit, through the construction process, partnering with you in that endeavor is important as well. And then finally, wealth of experience. We understand that you want to maintain a superior business environment for your tenants, that you want to continually provide value to your tenants, and you want to always look for operating savings wherever you can. The second key objective, we believe, is to execute a comprehensive tenant retention program to minimize future vacancy in downtown. And then third, our last key objective is to position the property, become stabilized, lease it up, achieve a peak operating efficiency. So in 5 to 7 years' time, when you are prepared to sell the asset, you're going to obtain a premium upon your exit. So those are kind of our key objectives. And next, I'd like to turn over to Kerry, who's going to talk about his analysis of the property.
Thanks, Dan. First, though, I'd like to just piggyback a little bit what you just said about your hold period. When we toured the property, we took the view of making sure that we would position the property for sale at optimum sales price in that 5 to 7 year period. And we know that the biggest impact on NOI comes from the revenue side. And although you're not talking with us about leasing the building, we do hope you consider Greg May to have a chance to lease the building. He's got one of the most proven track records of filling up space in the downtown market. But regardless of who you choose on the leasing side, we're going to partner with them and run the building from a management perspective in a way that will help fill up the space quicker than anybody else. So let's just discuss a little bit about the building, some of the strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats. The building was built in the late 80s, and it was built with a very unique design. Even for the time, even for the 80s, it was very unique, and it has that artistic flair to it. When you get to the sky lobby, you see all of the marble and the paintings on the ceiling, the artwork, the brass, and even in the 80s, that wasn't for everybody. But it is it's a very strong characteristic of this building. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. But some of the strengths are location. Figueroa and 7th, right? I mean, that's a main and downtown. And it's located directly on top of the metro station. As you can see, Josh, if you wouldn't mind zooming in on the pictures down below, that directory in that second picture, that's right where you come up from the metro station, and that's the building's entrance right behind it. So you can't get any more better convenience for people who need to take public transportation, and of course in the LA market, that's a very valuable strength of the building. So also there are a lot of amenities in this particular area of downtown. On Figueroa, there's restaurants. We all know having a downtown location, you got to be able to entertain clients, and this is a very walkable area of downtown. So you've got all the entertainment literally right outside your door. So some of the challenges, well, the building's 30-something years old at this point, and it is a little dated. When you walk into that sky lobby, that marble, it's not for everybody. But if you go up to the other floors of the building, I like what the sellers of the building started but never finished, which was modernizing it. You can see the common area hallways have a much more modern feel to it. The restrooms were done in a very modern sense. And although we wouldn't recommend changing the character of the building, because you wouldn't want, there's too much invested in that building and it's too much of a reputation, we do think there should be some sort of transitional pieces that help capture the character of the building, but yet modernize it at the same time. Parking is another challenge at the building. At only 1.2 spaces per 1,000 square feet, that's below the competition in the area. Even though it does have a parking garage on site, there are leases in place for other lots down the block to secure parking spaces, and that is eventually going to become a problem as occupancy rises. And although there's amenities down the street, there are none on site. And since we have that bank space that's vacant down below, we're going to talk a little bit about possibly creating some amenities into that. So how do we turn these challenges into opportunities? We mentioned we want to modernize the building. The sky lobby, 2 stories tall, it's so grand when you walk in, and it's very striking, but it lacks modern features. The directory is still the old plexiglass directory that you have to use electrical tape to keep the light from shining through. we could still keep the character of the building by putting in a modern directory and just some sort of modern conveniences. And Dan and Josh are going to touch on that a little later with some of the technologies we're going to introduce to the building. Parking, an opportunity there. Josh, if you wouldn't mind zooming in again to the pictures, the one down below, you can see the condition of the Wilshire Grand project, which is located directly across the street from Figueroa Tower. That's going to have a big parking garage attached to it. And what we would suggest is, even now, before closing, we would suggest that you get in touch with these owners, and we'd be happy to accomplish that for you, and see if you can secure some spaces in their garage, because it would be very convenient. Security, we mentioned security. There's 24/7 security in the building, but the way the building's situated is you walk in, and there's no real presence. There's just a skinny little hallway leading to an elevator. Then you take the elevator up to what's really the lobby, which is 5 stories up. But when you walk in, you're just left by yourself. There's nobody there to greet you. There's no presence at all. There's no signage there. We'd recommend bringing security, maybe some additional staff if budgets allow, or changing the schedules of the security guards that are there now to come in and create that sort of concierge, doorman sort of feel to it. So you're welcome when you come in. And when I was there, I witnessed people wondering where they're going to go just to go up into the building. So it'll help funnel them into the right place to get to that real lobby, which is on the 5th floor. And then amenities. That bank floor has been vacant for some time. Why not turn that into a small sundry shop or an on-site cafe? This downtown is a great walkable town, but when it's raining, you don't want to have to walk. Some people want to go right downstairs and get a sandwich. And we think there's room to convert that bank space into amenities, dry cleaning, drop-off, all of those things. So what are the threats? Well, we mentioned the Wilshire Grand project directly across the street. While that could be a benefit, it also creates a little bit of a threat because they're going to have over 400,000 square feet of Class A office space directly competing with our project. So although that's going to be a brand new state-of-the-art building, and we are not going to necessarily compete for those same tenants, they will certainly be calling on our tenants.